Hi, I'm Joy Bhattacharya, and you're listening to me on the Taking It Slow podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and listen every time.
It's a Sunday. You know what that means. It's time to take it slow. और विशु क्या हाल चाल?
या बढ़िया सभी के बहुत सही हाल चाल है यार। सारे ऑफिस वाले लोग बैठ के मैच देख रहे थे ऑस्ट्रेलिया का। कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा था। लाइक यू इन द गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस, सब प्राइवेट ऑफिसेस में।
हाँ,
मजा आ गया यार।
the productivity over those 2 days would have been like negligible for at least for the first half.
सही में। और
Speaking
लोगों को
of
ऋषभ पंत की तारीफ करते हुए सुना यार मैंने कि
yes,
उसको हमेशा गालियां पड़ती है। मजा आ गया।
speaking of that amazing victory that we had, we have a very special guest with us today, and I
सही में।
could not believe my luck when he said, "Yes, I will come and I will be a guest on your podcast." I don't think we should take too much time and keep him away from your screen. So, without any further ado, let's dive right in, people. As David Letterman says, our next guest needs no introduction, but I'll still try and talk about him a little to whatever capability I can. He's a quizzer, he's an orator, he's a writer, and we haven't even talked about the sports part yet. Talking about sports, he has been the head of programming for ESPN Sports. He was the mind behind ESPN School Quiz, Super Selector, India's first fantasy game, by the way. Then he was the team director for Kolkata Knight Riders during their most successful run, where they delivered 2 titles. Lately, he was the project director of FIFA Under 17 World Cup that was organized in India. Presently, he is the CEO of the Pro Volleyball League. In a role you might have seen him more frequently in, he is an ace analyst for CricBuzz. It is an absolute honor for us to welcome none other than Joy Bhattacharya to the Taking It Slow podcast. Hi Joyda, how are you doing?
हेलो जोयदा।
Hi, Vijay. Hi, guys. Hi, Vivek. Hi, pleasure being on this podcast. As I said, you guys finally wore me down. I tried my best to say no to you guys, but persistently, you stuck on to your job, which is not unusual from a person from Pidilite. Sticking on is something that you've learned from the very start. So, yeah. Thanks. Pleasure being here. Absolutely pleasure.
Joyda, now that the euphoria has settled down a little, so we saw what we saw in the Gabba. I mean, probably one of India's finest hours as a cricketing nation. I've seen a lot of articles that it is the best series in the Test history. Period. It is the best performance by an Indian team in the Test arena. Period. But I thought at that point of time that it might have to do with the instant euphoria or instant high that we were on. Now that the dust has settled down a little, you still feel it is the best series India has ever been a part of?
See, there are two things to a best series. One is when you look at best series, you say, is it the most competitive series in terms of exactly the level of the teams playing and all that? That's one part of it. Okay. Where you might argue that in 2001, the situation that you had with the kind of team that, say, Australia had, Vaughan,
Yeah.
Gilchrist, Magra, and this
The
team.
juggernaut on 16 takes.
Yeah. Yeah. So probably the two teams were stronger in 2001. Okay. But I can tell you this much, the mountain that the Indian team climbed in 2021, 2020, 2021 is a higher mountain because surely the number of injuries that happened, the number of inexperienced players, and the other thing is the kind of people who saw you through. There is not one.
Yep.
So if you look at it, you will see heroes emerging from a Shardul to an Ashwin to a Sundar to a Natarajan. These were not the names we thought we would be listening to at the end. To even a Rishabh Pant, these were not names that we thought would be there as heroes at the end.
He was not a part of the first test. Yeah.
Not part of the first test, not part of the squad. They're distinct bowlers. They stayed there finally because they're net
bowlers. Yeah. Yeah.
So look, you compare that to what has actually happened in 2001, where, okay, the bowling was slightly inexperienced. Kumble was injured. But otherwise, that was our first choice bowling attack, whether we liked it or not. We had 10 of our 11 first choice players. The only first choice player really missing was Kumble. Because by that time, even Srinath was not playing that many home test matches in India.
True.
So look, there's no comparison about the mountain that we climbed to win this. There is no parallel in Indian, not even Test history. I would venture so far as to say that our 83 Indian World Cup winning team, okay, had a better chance against the West Indies in terms of odds than
Oh,
this
wow.
team had with the number of injuries they had against Australia.
That's a huge
Yeah,
compliment for them.
yeah, but if you look at it, if you look at the team that won in 1983, okay, you had four batsmen who could bowl, okay.
Hmm.
You had Kirti Azad, okay. You had Mohinder Amarnath. All these were this thing. There was Roger Bin. There was Madan Lal. Even in reserve, you had somebody sitting out there like a Ravi Shastri. All these
Yeah,
were batsmen who could bowl. India today barely has any all-rounders. We used to have
true.
3 to 4 all-rounders who could play there at that point in time.
Right.
And so that way, though, it was a very versatile team. It may not have had the fastest bowlers. In England, you don't need the fastest bowlers. You need swing bowlers. Roger Binny
Right.
was a brilliant
Correct.
swing bowler. Kapil was a
Correct.
great swing bowler.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that weak a team. I mean, they played to their strengths. They played well. But this team was decimated. There was nothing left. I mean, look at it. I mean, they were just looking around the dressing room. Ravi Shastri must have put somebody inside into his side set.
Yeah. Especially after getting all out for 36 to come back from that, that's a
Yeah.
huge compliment.
Not just the 36 part, in my opinion, the personnel, as you said. Washington Sundar hasn't been playing for his state side for a while now. He is a proper limited overs player or a T20 specialist, if I might add. For him to take the stage at the Gabba
Yeah.
to hook Mitchell Stark for a six in the defining stages. I mean, there are a number of such stories that have emerged from the series. What are your few favorite stories from the series? We have seen heartwarming stories like that of Natarajan. We have seen a journeyman like Shardul Thakur, who would have thought that his test career was over after bowling a matter of 10 balls. I mean, who would have given him a chance of playing test cricket again, let alone playing a defining knock in the Gabba with the bat? Such a heartwarming story. So, any other favorite stories that you have from the recent series?
No, as I said, I mean, there must be so many, and many will emerge, and better writers than me will get a chance. The Siddharth Monkas, the Shard Douglas, hopefully, we'll hear more and more about what they have to say about this. Because
Brilliant article.
this is
written.
the age of media where, yeah, this will be captured in detail, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, for me, the biggest factor was simply the kind of camaraderie this team had. You see, I've been a part of teams, and one of the things that happens is when teams go on tour, especially when they lose or they win. So when they lose very badly, two things can happen to teams. Either they come together very strongly or they break up totally.
Right.
Both can happen.
Yep.
Okay. When that 36 not out happened, this team could have gone to pieces or it would come together very strongly. The way they came together. So what I loved about it is, say, for example, the way, say, when a Riddhiman Shah went into the middle to talk to a Rishabh Pant or somebody, this is what's happening. The kind of, for a Prithvi Shaw, how he jumped up onto Shubman Gill's lap, literally. Remember, Prithvi Shaw was Shubman Gill's captain during the 2018 Under 19 World Cup that they won. So the kind of raw emotion among the players who were not even playing is something that I loved. So they were very, very united as a team, because the whole world has sort of told them that you're not good enough, you got out to 36. That somehow Shastri managed to make that into, and that happens to teams. Either they completely break at that point or they become much stronger. And these guys just became much stronger. So I think that for me is the biggest lesson out about it.
So Joyda, that reflects a lot on all the players. How much does that reflect on Rahani's captaincy?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch upon the leadership aspect as well. So you just mentioned about Ravi Shastri too. For the last few years, Ravi Shastri has been the butt of a lot of jokes. He's been the center of a number of memes and cliched persona. So there's a lot been written about him. How much credit do you give him in keeping the team together? As you said, it could have been shattered to pieces after 36. How much credit should we give to Ravi Shastri? We blame him when things don't go right, but are we giving him enough credit when we have done such a stupendous turnaround?
Ravi Shastri batting average. If you go down, he's never a great batsman in terms of his technical. But Ravi Shastri's batting against the West Indies, against Australia, scoring centuries at Sydney, he was the toughest SOB that I saw. I've been with Ravi Shastri since '96. I know him. Okay. And Ravi Shastri had one great capacity. Ravi Shastri I had to do a program with him. Okay. He drove me mad when I was trying to confirm the program. It used to be called MRF Pace Legends. It was a series of shows on fast bowlers who were a part of the MRF stable. Prasad, Srinath. This is 1997. So I remember that when we were talking about MRF Pace Legends and we were, doing the footage and all for Pace Legends, he was supposed to anchor the show. He drove me mad when I was trying to confirm him. I couldn't get him on the phone. Once he confirmed on the phone that I'm going to be there, okay, we are going to shoot in Calcutta. And I remember it was Calcutta, the India-Australia Test Series, India-South Africa Test Series going on. And he said, come and shoot with me at 7 in the morning. Once he said that, okay, then Ravi Shastri will be there at 6:55 in the morning and he will stay for as long as it takes to finish it. So Ravi has always been like that. He's a tough, hard guy. But once he gives his word, he will stick to it come what may. Okay? And that's the Ravi Shastri who's also on the cricket field. He'll laugh, joke, he'll have a drink afterwards. But on the field, he was a completely, utterly uncompromising guy. He captained one test for India. That was Hirwani's test debut. Okay? He beat a West Indies side. Go and have a look at that West Indies side. From Patrick Patterson to Malcolm Marshall.
It was a star-studded team. Yeah.
So he knew how to captain. He understands the game. And he's a tough customer. And see, I have a very simple theory on this. People like Ravi Shastri, people like even an Ajay Jadeja, because they were the naughty boys themselves, they know how to handle what they call spirited kids who need to listen.
Correct.
They know because they have done every trick like this themselves when they were young, trying to sneak out at night, trying to do all that. The Ravi Shastri, Jadejas have done everything. So they know exactly how to deal with a player like that and how to control him without breaking his spirit. Because a player like that, you don't want to break his spirit. You break his spirit, he's done. You need for him to be feisty, but you need to control him. He can't go out. So it's something that only if you've done it yourself can you do it. You can't do it. See, a Kumble wouldn't even imagine half the tricks some of these young kids would be up to. Ravi Shastri,
Ravi Shastri has maybe done more than these kids can imagine.
That's my point.
That's a very fair point, Joy. So I see Yuvraj backing Rishabh Pant a lot because probably he sees some of himself in Rishabh Pant. Everywhere, whenever you ask Yuvraj who is the next big player, he always names Rishabh Pant. So probably there's no bigger supporter of Rishabh Pant than UV because, as you said, he might see a reflection of himself in Rishabh.
Yeah, and he knows. See, spirit is something that you cannot break of a player. Players have to be, and the best captains, and I'm saying this is across teams. Go and look at Brett Lee. Brett Lee is also a kid. He'd always push a captain. A Shane Warne, a Brett Lee. You can't control them in a normal way and say, boss, stay at home at 10 o'clock. They're going to try at 10:15 to try and get out of the way. So you have to figure a way saying, let me combat them, let me control them, but let me not break their spirit. Because that's also the spirit that makes them fight like that in the field. So a lot of cricket is about doing that. Harnessing the spirit of a player rather than trying to control him.
We were just speaking of leadership as well. It will be unfair not to touch upon the terrific job that Ajinkya Rahane has done. He's a polar opposite from what we see in a Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is in your face, aggressive. Ajinkya Rahane's aggression comes more from his action rather than his words. And what a major difference that I saw in the two leadership styles was I saw a number of different leaders emerge within the dressing room when Rahane was the skipper. I saw Jasprit Bumrah, who is still 15 test matches old himself, mentoring Siraj, mentoring the younger pace generation, pace battery that we have. I saw Ravi Ashwin take on a major leadership role as far as Washington Sundar is concerned, coaching Washington Sundar is concerned. So I saw a number of new leaders emerge. Is that a different style of leadership than you would call from that of a Kohli?
See, two things. One is I don't think Kohli is completely, as you said, a guy who's takes everything on himself as well. He also has more leaders. Sometimes what happens is Kohli doesn't need to say anything. The very personality of Kohli does not allow, because he's a high key personality. See, every cricketer plays to his or her strength. Okay.
True.
Kohli's greatest ability there are two abilities. Kohli has two superpowers. One is his ability to change. Okay. So from the slightly chubby Chiku of the under-19 World Cup to become the super fit vegan player that he is a phenomenal transformation. As a batsman, he's got a phenomenal transformation. As a captain, That's his superpower. Now, that's the way he operates. Okay. And I'll tell you, even when say we did in the IPL, we did leadership. Say you used to take a Gautam Gambhir. Now, if you try and say, okay, who's the most successful test captain at that point? Say we're talking in 2012. The most successful captain at that time in the IPL for the last 5 years has definitely been MS Dhoni. Okay? Can you make Gautam Gambhir MS Dhoni? No, you can't.
No.
Because Gautam Gambhir is never an MS Dhoni. Gautam Gambhir is not a guy who's calm, cool, no matter what happens, he just doesn't lose. He's just the opposite. So what happens is we made a team in KKR which was about that, saying, boss, this is a captain who will take a bullet for you. Ye tere liye jaan de dega. So that it suited the style of Gambhir. So similarly, the style of the Indian team when it played today in this world, in this last Australia tour, it suited the style of Rishabh Rahane, whose understated style, saying, okay, boss, I'm a leader. You guys, Ashwin bhai, you look after this because I won't need to look after. Booms to bowler log ke saath, you stay with them. समझा दे उन लोग को क्या करना है. He could delegate like that much easier. Right. I'm not saying ever that Virat doesn't delegate. But he has a more low-key style of it. Sometimes the low-key style suits it because players can emerge more. I'll tell you one of the biggest problems is if you say have a dressing room, and I've seen this actually happen in IPL matches. I've heard it happen on the teams. And you have 20 top players out there. They're players of the legends, people like a Gale sitting out there, and top players sitting out there. Then you'll call an under-19 player and say, "Why do you think we lost the match?" Uska guts nahi hoga, yaar. If you're going to go and tell him in front of him, all these legends are sitting there, I'm going to be told, I'm going to tell you, why we lost the match, why we were idiots. I'm not going to open my mouth. So sometimes in situations like that, you have to create a situation where you get the opinion of that player without making him feel exposed or threatened or worried that what will people say if I say this. So I think in some way what has happened with Rahane is his style, his approach has allowed that players to take that extra step forward, and it just works for him. It's a whole combination of things. How these things work, how they come together, it's very difficult to say. I mean, if anyone told you that that the last 3 tests, somebody like Virat going back may be a blessing in disguise for him. Yes, so let's see. So that's what
when did you start believing on the final day that we could actually do it? I mean, I have played a very basic level of cricket myself. I am supposedly the expert in my family group. I am supposedly a cricket expert in my family group. So हमारे family group पे चल रहा था when the 4th day ended. कि क्या हो सकता है, क्या कर सकते हैं. I was like, shut up. ये chase वगैरह भूल जाओ. If we survive with the help of rain, it will be a miracle. Gaba 5th day pitch, it will be a miracle if we last 2 sessions with the bowling attack that they have. And when I was watching, I woke up. Obviously, I woke up early to watch everything. And जैसे we are progressing through the sessions, I had this out of body experience. हो क्या रहा है? What the hell are these guys trying to do? They are going for chasing 329 on the last day pitch. So how did you react to the thought that we'll chase down 330 in Australia without our key batsman? What was your thought on that?
I didn't think it was. I thought we had no chance at all. I thought we had no chance. Like you, I thought it's a miracle we'll survive. I actually thought we could start winning when the last hour started with 15 overs left and Rishabh was batting. And Rishabh hit a couple of fours, and that's when, and then there was a by 4, I think, which went straight through the keeper. And that was the point at which I thought we might even do this. That was the point. Before that, I'm being honest with you, all this talk about expert. If anyone tells you that they could predict that victory, I mean, abhi mani 26 January abhi aa raha hai, hathi pe chada do, let them parade. I mean, it is unbelievable. For them to win at that point in time is just, frankly, just unbelievable. I mean, for them to would survive for me would have been a miracle. That they won is just beyond my wildest dream.
Joyda, how do we go forward from here? Ekdam out of nowhere, we almost have a second test lineup ready. Probably in my recollection, we have never had such a wide array of options on our bench. Abhi, how to keep everyone satisfied? How to keep everyone happy and motivated by keep giving them games? How do we go forward from here?
I think it never works like that. The top teams are like that. The top teams at a very testing stage, I remember Brad Hodge, and there was a time Brad Hodge was a brilliant cricketer. We
Yeah.
tend to forget that he's also a brilliant first-class cricketer, not just a limited overs cricketer. He has scored runs and runs for Victoria, like tons of runs for Victoria, for Lancashire, for everybody. Okay.
Hmm.
I think it was Mark Waugh who was injured. Brad Hodge came in his place. Okay.
Hmm.
Scored 50s, averaged over 50s, scored a double century also in the West Indies. Mark Waugh came back, he was
It was a
no
drop,
question, because he was not good enough. Okay. There's still a man, I think you might have heard his name if you're into quizzing, called Andy Guataman, I think, was a West Indian. He's the only man who has a test average higher than Bradman. He played one test match, got 100, and never played a test again. Because the West Indies team at that time had Weeks, Walcott, Worrell. They had so many good batsmen that when they came back, he didn't have a chance. It doesn't matter. You can't think about that. And that's what I'm saying. Washington Sundar may never play a test match again. P. Natarajan may never play a test match again in his life. But it doesn't matter. That's how strong teams work. Stuart McGill, every time he was given a chance by Australia, went and did fantastic things, sometimes better than Warne.
Better than Warne, yeah.
The moment Warne came back, it went back. So, when you're dealing with top teams, there is a certain amount of clarity or ruthlessness about it. And it doesn't matter. Fantastic, well done. We will give you an award for it. But this is India, on Indian ground. I mean, am I going to take the ball out of Ashwin's hand and give it to Washington Sundar? No, not
No.
And Washington Sundar understands that as well. Washington Sundar understands that this amazing circumstance made me get this great opportunity. I feel that the Indian team is very strong, but just as the Indian team isn't as weak as we saw it when it was 36 not out, it's not as strong as we think because we've won.
I think it is right now. Yes.
Yeah.
It's never as weak as you think it is. It's never as strong as you think it is. And I think we've got a decent test side. But over the next 2, 3, 4 years, we are also going to transition into a different test side. See, taking 20 wickets for our pace attack, one of the things we do have to really think about is we are taking a lot of injuries. The kind of players that we're losing to injury is a serious number. And we've got to look at it and say that can we take this on a consistent basis? What is happening? Why are they breaking down so often? So all those are things that we will now go through. And I think there's going to be a lot of work on all that. But it's a strong team. It's a start. And if you've got to reach the World Test Championship final, the next couple of series is crucial for us. So it's big games ahead of us to come. And England is not an easy side.
Not an easy team. Absolutely.
No, and England has primarily chosen the way their tour calendar is to go to Sri Lanka, is to give their spin bowlers a chance to play.
As we're speaking about spin bowlers, Joyda wanted to speak to you about someone who you personally might know as well. I wanted to speak to you about Kuldeep. Kuldeep was one of the gems of the Infinity Stones, if I might call him. Kuldeep and Chahal were the bedrock of the Indian renaissance in the ODI setup, at least. He's picked up 5 wickets in test matches as well. The last year or year and a half or so, we have not seen Kuldeep at his best. Everybody and their son got to play in the Australian setup. Whoever was fit and available played in the Australian series in the last match. Kuldeep wasn't thought of. You've also spoken a number of times in the past that he's a confidence bowler. If his confidence is there, he's a different bowler altogether. So with him not being able to set foot into the Indian test setup, even with all these injuries, do you think that will hamper his confidence even more and it'll be a tougher task for him to get back to his best?
It's always a tough task. But see, I'll tell you one more thing. Bowlers are always 2 wickets, 3 wickets away from confidence. लग गया 2 wicket, लग गया 3रा wicket ले लिया, कुछ हो गया, खत्म है. You're a different guy. So that's what it is. Bowlers are so much of it is you just keep bowling away. Sometimes you're bowling beautifully and you don't get wickets. But actually you get 2, 3 wickets, 5 changes.
Yep.
So I think Kuldeep has the raw talent. There's nothing in his action which has significantly changed and all. See, a lot of bowlers now, they try and tinker with the actions too much, and it doesn't happen so much now, fortunately. But like people like Maninder Singh and all, so many people try to change their actions. At the end, they've forgotten what got them the success, and they themselves say it. It's not something that we say. So I think Kuldeep is that way. He's still got his action. He's still got the bounce. He's still got what he and he still may play a significant part even in the 2021 Limited Overs World Cup. I mean, don't be surprised to see him there. I think he still has a huge part to play. Okay, he is just, as I said, just he needs what every cricketer will tell you is the single most important thing that a cricketer needs: luck. I mean, we all know Rahane was dropped so many times. Ashwin was, everyone gets dropped.
Yes.
And if you have to get caught, you'll get caught first ball. If you have to go to out of blinder, you get dropped 3 times.
Yeah.
You just need some luck to go your way. And I think just Kuldeep needs just that tad bit of luck. 1-2 such situations where he gets the rub of the draw, he'll be fine.
The recent test series was also a glowing advert for 5-day tests. There has been a lot of talk about switching to 4 days and to speeden up the game to make it more marketable. Do you think 5 days are here to stay, or 4 days will start taking over? And see, T20 is obviously the format to globalize the game more. But what about the importance of keeping the tests to 5 days?
Look, I am a believer in 5-day test cricket for a very different reason than anyone else. Okay, I think teams are playing fast anyway, much faster anyway.
Right.
So a lot of them will end in 4 days anyway. Okay? It doesn't matter because teams are naturally playing much faster than they ever used to, and the pitches are also more conducive to faster play. But my point is that are you going to see this huge amount of money flowing in saying, अरे यार अब तो 4 दिन का टेस्ट है अब इन्वेस्ट करते हैं? नहीं है, नहीं होगा।
नहीं है।
5 दिन हो या 4 दिन हो, कौन सा फर्क पड़ने वाला है? I mean, if I'm a sponsor going to buy a test match, the fact that it's 4 days instead of 5 is not going to make a difference. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save some money because I don't have to stay the 5th day. Okay, I'm going to save 1/5 of it, say 20% of my costs are this thing. At this point in time, in that cost-benefit ratio, it may save a little bit of money, but it's not going to attract one single extra sponsor because it's 1 day less. So, overall, it doesn't suit Indian cricket. For a countries like Zimbabwe, where they're struggling, the economy is struggling, and all of 5 day versus 4 day may make a difference. But for Indian cricket, it just doesn't make sense. You want as little a situation to be, unless somebody scores a 700 and the other team scores 500, you don't want a draw. You want it to play.
I think those days are behind us, honestly. जब 500 versus 700 होता था, इंडिया ने 500 बनाया, श्रीलंका ने 900 बना दिया. So those sort of days are behind us. Those sort of pitches are behind us, and thankfully so.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no joy in watching games like that. I mean, I've seen double centuries scored in Indian soil, which are you shouldn't. I mean, I remember a Chris Tavare knock, not a double century. Chris Tavare knock at the Eden Gardens. I remember Anshuman Gaikwad knock at Kanpur, which was just unwatchable. Just meaningless. Nobody's interested in the test. He's batting for his double century. Captain is waiting for his double century for declaration. I mean, those are not. Then you're playing for yourself. You're not playing for audiences at all.
Yeah. I'll like to switch the conversation slightly to you, Joyda. I read somewhere that you mentioned that your career, as it has panned out, has been shaped by people who stopped you or people who did not get along with. Can you elaborate on that?
Look, I don't want, as I said, mention people. It always, what happens with any time that you're working in your career, you're basically the people who stop you, or the people who don't allow you to remain comfortable. Okay. And a lot of times it is because they don't want you there or they want to force you out. They force you to take decisions or to get out and do things which are scary. Okay? Say, leave a city and go to another city and say, okay, I want to start a career in another city because this guy is just not going to allow me to work. Or to sort of, look at things in a very different way and say that, no, I want to try and do something completely different. So I think that's what it is. People who push us beyond our comfort level are people who are actually very, very good for us because they are the people who allow us. So you have to thank them. Of course, it's not easy to thank them at that point in time. You're cursing them for them doing whatever they did.
Right.
But in the long run, you would say, boss, he hadn't screwed with me so badly, I wouldn't have done A, B, C, D, and that is what has changed my life. So every situation that doesn't break you, as they say, it's a truism. It sounds makes me stronger, and I believe completely that just as much as you need mentors, you need powerful enemies to make you do different things.
You've been a quizzer for a lot of your initial life, so ESPN school quiz made sense. It was a natural fit. How did Super Selector come about? So we see all these fantasy games these days. Every second ad during cricket matches is for a fantasy game, but Super Selector was the first fantasy game that set the benchmark for everything that followed. How did it happen? Do you think it was slightly ahead of its time?
No, it was hugely ahead of its time. So it happened for a very simple reason. We had a very simple mandate. We were part of a conference in Singapore for the ESPN Star Sports headquarters. And the mandate was, how do you make people watch non-India cricket?
Hmm.
Because non-India cricket, so India cricket will always give you big numbers. How do you make
Yes.
people
Yep.
watch non-India cricket? And the whole concept was, can we get them more interested? So fantasy was one of the routes that was saying. At that time, football fantasy had started. Now the whole challenge was, how do you make fantasy where teams are playing different number of matches for different amounts of time and different things? How do you do it? So that's when I sat down and I created this sort of rating system. And between 20 and 200, every player will come. You got 1,000 points to buy. I mean, total number of points to buy players.
Yep.
Therefore, you can't buy only big players because that takes away from the very game. So
Yep.
all that started from there. And that is what basically Super Selector came from. And it was ahead of its time, way ahead of its time, because we had so many people who played and we had so many people who did it that the servers first crashed because the guys who designed it were British. And we told them that the Indian tech is the best in the world. And the Singapore guys said, no, these British guys have done fantasy. They've handled 15,000 people. We had 33,000 people in the first 1.5 hours of the show ending. The server immediately collapsed because they said 15,000 people, they got about 2 years. 33,000 over 1 hour, they didn't even. So it was ahead of its time. We couldn't monetize it, and it was so ahead of its time. In fact, one of the things I was just interviewing not so long back, Harsh Jain, and he said that one of the reasons he started Dream 11 was because he came to India, tried to play Super Selector, found it was no longer there, and said that there's no game out here, there's an opportunity out here. So it was bizarre. He said that I started it because they stopped Super Selector. Wow. Because he's worth $1 billion, it's worth many billions of dollars. Good for him. I think he was smart, he saw an opportunity, and he's done very well. Good for him.
So post ESPN star, Joyda, how did you end up being the director for KKR? How did you land up there?
In fact, that's a story connected to Super Selector because in 2008, when they first started this, we heard that there's going to be teams, and then they said there's going to be an auction, and auction players are going to be bought. And I said that, look, this is actually like Super Selector, except that when I buy it, you can't buy the same player. But it's all about auction strategy.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So I very quietly, I went and spoke to a couple of friends, and I was put on to 2-3 professors in ISI Delhi. And I told them, can we create an algorithm for maximizing, given a player's potential, maximizing the amount of good potential players we can buy. So it was a proper statistical tool which was built. And then once I built that tool, I said, okay, let me go and talk to the teams. And I knew a lot of these guys because obviously I'd been in ESPN Star Sports for a long time.
Yep.
So I spoke to Mumbai. Mumbai was interesting. Mumbai said, we are prepared to buy the software. We may decide whether to use it or not. It's up to us. It's our call. This is a very Mumbai thing, covering all ends, and that's how they
obviously.
operate. Fine. I understand where they're coming from. They had no commitment to follow my rule or any other rule. They had the money to be able to check out all possible options, and that's what they wanted to do.
Yes.
Bangalore, they said, wow, interesting. Come, speak to us. Let's sit together. Let's talk. And then in Calcutta, there was a gentleman called Jeet Banerjee, good friend of mine. And he said, look, Shahrukh is looking for people, looking for something to do. And let's go and meet him. So I've been recommended. So, and I had a feeling also that Kolkata might be beyond just being in the auction. So but I started with the auction and then I stuck around with the team, and that's how it's been happening there.
And enough has been documented about your journey with the Kolkata Knight Riders. You've spoken about them on a number of platforms. We will not delve too much into it. There were a couple of aspects that I wanted to pick your brains on as far as KKR was concerned. How difficult was it to manage off the field and on the field stuff? Because as team director, you would have been responsible for the finances, for the way the team is run, for the everyday management as well. Kolkata Knight Riders was one of the very first franchises that broke even as far as profits were concerned as well. They were I think they were the first franchise that did so.
We had certain amount of job to do in execution and all that. But let me be very honest. For the first 3-4 years, the sponsorship was not difficult because we had two top people. Jeet, one of the people represented. There was Vinita, and we got a lot of sponsorship, which was Shah Rukh's sponsorship. I mean, people who wanted to sponsor
Right.
Shah Rukh just came on and sponsored KKR as well. So that was so much of it was in the beginning. We just got sponsorship because Shah Rukh was there, and you were part of it was buying surrogate Shah Rukh sponsorship. If I'm going to be Nokia, I'm going to get Shah Rukh also for free, along with me. And that is a huge plus that you're getting. I mean, Shah Rukh's value is, just as Shah Rukh is so high, Shah Rukh plus KKR is even higher. So that's why none of this was any difficult it was sold very easily. Our job was only to make sure that we had enough time for the players to put them together, execute them. Because if you're marketing, you're working with an organization which has India's finest marketing person ever, which is Shah Rukh Khan.
Right.
And he's more than a personality, he's much more than that. He's a marketing genius. So none of that was a struggle at all in the beginning. So if I was to tell to you, the more difficult struggle at that time was early times, understanding logistics, understanding how to operate, understanding how teams work, understanding how you create an atmosphere where one player is just about made it to his first class team and the other player is a Hall of Fame superstar. And how do you make sure? And very often that player is playing and the superstar is sitting on the bench because only 4 foreigners are allowed. How do I handle that? Those are the kind of challenges that came, which were much more difficult in those days.
So my second question is a continuation to that itself. You were talking about managing a squad, managing morals and egos. In a cutthroat competition like the IPL, how close-knit does the team actually get together? Is there a siege mentality that sort of starts creeping in, that it is us against the world? Because it is, at the end of the day, when you don't do well, it is that core of 20-25 odd people who have to answer to everyone, or everyone outside. Every second day people are criticizing you.
If the siege mentality comes in, it's actually good, because bad teams, what happens in those times is they disintegrate. So what happens is, after the game is over, nobody stays with each other, nobody hangs around with each other. With good teams, if you lose together, and we used to make it a point, it didn't matter if we hung around the days we won. But we definitely make sure to try and hang around the days we lose, because that's when it's more important. When you're won, it's okay. You're there, you're not there, you're fine.
Right.
Because you're already happy about being a team. It is when you lose that staying together is very, very important. And I've seen some good coaches, and there's an amazing thing I noticed. One is that coaches, people like Watmore or Trevor Bayliss, and Trevor Bayliss has now won a World Cup. Watmore won a World Cup many years back. They're brilliant coaches. So all the things I noticed is they were harshest in the dressing room after a win. After a loss, they never said it. The players know why they've done badly. The players have already suffered enough. They don't then shout at them and scream at them and tell them how bad they are. They'll say, okay, leave it, let's get on. And if it's a really tough loss, I mean, I remember one loss, 2014, we are playing in Ahmedabad and we are playing the Rajasthan Royals. And KKR is finally, we are 4-2 and we are playing our second game on Indian soil. This is after coming back from Dubai, and we are playing for the first time. We are opening with Robin Uttappa and Gautam Gambhir, which was a partnership that really after that they scored, did really well. And they scored 150 odd. We scored 128 odd for no loss, and then we lost 6 wickets in 7 balls.
I remember that name, Praveen Tambe, na? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And we lost that match. And I remember that match, 2 days later was the Delhi match. Exactly 2 days later. So the only thing all the coaching and support staff was concerned about was keep them busy, because that loss really, that is the one Arya Parwala loss. Either your team will break up or it will survive. Okay. And we said, keep this team as busy as possible for the next 48 hours till they play them. We are good enough to beat them. But this team cannot be allowed to think about this loss, because this loss was demoralizing. Previous losses, you lose, you win. This, being 128 for no loss and losing was something that just could break a team. And we went in there and we won. And then we won the next 8 games and we won the IPL. We won 9 in a row.
Yeah.
But that match, those 48 hours were the crucial time of keeping that team together. Anything could have happened at that time.
That's fascinating. You're talking about how to keep the team busy, etc. I want to also speak about some of the harshest decisions or the toughest decisions that you've had to take as a team director. Obviously, you've seen transitions, a couple of transitions within the squad itself, right from the identity of KKR to the players that you, or the style of play that you used to play. KKR initially started, I would say, not like a team but a collection of individuals who were superstars. But then you brought in players like Rajat Bhatia, like Balaji, who would bleed for you, who would do anything for the team that would be necessary. No one else would uh, play Rajat Bhatia as often as he did, and I'm not very sure Rajat Bhatia would have given such performances for any other team other than KKR. So there must have been a number of tough conversations or a number of tough decisions that you had to take as team director. Could you talk us through a couple of them or a few of them?
Look, I don't want to talk about the obvious ones like, Saurav, and everyone knows that it's very well documented. For me, the most difficult decisions, I think that some of the difficult decisions was in 2012, letting somebody like, post 2011, letting somebody like Riddhiman Saha go. Because, not for anything else, but because Riddhiman Saha for me is the most positive cricketer that you can find in the world. Riddhiman Saha, David Hussey were in that 2008 to 2011 the most positive cricketers, always ready to give for the team, always sacrificing, great keepers, fantastic people. But at that point in time, we knew that we needed a wicketkeeper batsman. Because the way the team, Tab Watmore wanted to construct, he said, I want a wicketkeeper batsman opener. So that then opened the place. So we say, who can we get? Bisla was the guy that we said that, okay, this is a wicketkeeper batsman, is opener. If not, this is how we're going to, this is the guy that we're going to play for this kind of slot. So it was very clearly, it was not about him. And I remember feeling really bad because Riddhiman Saha is an amazing guy. And later he scored a century against KKR, if you remember. Punjab.
Yeah.
And he scored a terrific 90 odd against for us in CSK. When he was at CSK, he hammered the KKR at times. So he's done very well against us. The truth of it is, I love him. But, just at that point. The other interesting one, which a lot of people will not know, is that after the 2012 World Cup, among the people in the squad who we had to let go because, there were too many members and we needed to clear some cap space. One of them was a young kid called Sanju Samson who didn't get a game till then.
Oh, that's something I didn't know.
So Sanju Samson not only was in KKR in 2010 as a 15-year-old. Sanju Samson went on a KKR, youth team tour to Sri Lanka. And one of the people playing for that tour for Sri Lanka, if you remember, was that big 7-foot fast bowler. Do you remember the 7-foot fast bowler from Pakistan?
Yes,
Mohammad
Irfan. Yes.
He played for us in that tour because Wasim recommended we have a look at him. So Mohammad Irfan played, Sanju Samson played, a lot of our other kids played, and Mandeep Singh, all these guys were there in KKR already. Mandeep played, of course.
Mandeep played, yeah.
And they went to this tour, and Sanju Samson was the keeper on the tour. In fact, the bowlers were, I remember, Mohammad Irfan, and he used to open the bowling with Parvinder Ravana. All these were...
all these are KKR guys.
Yeah. They were all part of the KKR Academy and the KKR setup. And in 2012, we had to release Sanju. And I was feeling so bad because I said, we have done all the hard work with him. We've seen him through, we've supported him through the time when there was nobody there. And then to release him, I felt almost that what we've invested in, we had to give up. And it was a collective decision.
So, Joyda, now when they score against KKR, do you feel good or do you feel bad that your hard work is paying off?
No, you don't feel bad. It's very difficult to feel bad about players who are playing. And, it's very difficult because the struggle that they go through. And, for every success story, 1,000 stories which are so sad that, you see them and you say, these are guys with potential who could never have made it. Who could have made it and they didn't. So many of those.
Joy, the quick question. Talent or character?
Character, anytime. Everyone who plays at a basic first class level has talent. Everyone.
Fair.
Anyone who's even in that IPL, in the
pool of players,
situation, they have talent. You have to have guys who have character. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
So was character the defining trait of the team that won the 2 titles back to back?
Absolutely. And if you see Gautam or you see Jacques Kallis, or you see a Wasim Akhtar in the dressing room, that's what the team was about. It was about character. It was about a certain type of character that we will not give up. We'll go there, we'll fight. I mean, both times, if you remember, both final chases, one was a 185, 189, 190, one was a 200 chase. Both chases
Yep.
were ridiculous chases. The first chase was
Yep.
against a team that has just, won the title twice, okay,
Yep.
on their home ground, okay,
Yep.
scored this much runs, and then Gautam Gambhir went and got out in the first 2 overs, if you remember. And
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there we went and won. So it's completely a win of character.
You speaking of character, you speaking of the importance of people who would bleed for the team, who would take a bullet for your team. Uh, just a side note, do you think our youngsters are taught or prepared in such skills in their curriculum these days? Do you think our educational curriculum, pays enough importance to these characteristics, or is it too bookish, too rote?
No, it never has. It never has. Let's understand that the curriculum that is followed in India till about 10, 15 years back and has been followed about large parts of the world is something which has come from a British concept.
British.
It was the fact that
Mm.
they needed people around the world who understood enough English, understood enough math to be able to support the British Empire in what it
To
did.
make them
It is
employable,
there,
yeah.
and it is for people who could be controlled. They didn't want
Mm.
spirit. They didn't want initiative, because initiative tomorrow could be dangerous for them. And I really think by then, even now, we've never done enough for that in our curriculum.
Mm.
And very few countries do it well, to be honest.
So I faced a very similar challenge in my job, in my day job as well. We try and enhance creativity or the culture of crafting in people, but the one key thing that the parents are always behind are marks कितने हैं, marks कितने हैं. Everything else can wait. Crafting वगैरह करते रहेगा, creativity वगैरह देखी जाएगी. तुम्हारा डेवलपमेंट कैसा हो रहा है वो सब देखा जाएगा बाद में. मार्क्स कितने हैं, पहले मार्क्स के बारे में बात करो. And that I feel is a big deterrent from for India as a country, from our generation as a whole. So the sooner we bring in more focus or start making more heroes in sport is more important. So I can relate to this with the US education system, the US sporting system, so to speak. The sporting culture there is very, very strong. I'm sure you're well aware of it. They have sporting heroes from their universities, from their colleges, and the entire folklore knows about them. The entire towns know about those schooling sporting heroes or university sporting heroes. So that's how the sports culture is built over generations in a country. India is pretty behind in that aspect, I feel.
Totally. And this is one thing I always say. I say you go in America, you're traveling in California, you'll stop. They'll say, where's the petrol pump? They'll say, oh, there's 3 blocks down. And that guy, he was a football star in college 20 years back. Or in high school. And that's what it is. Absolutely. You don't celebrate local heroes. There's no point celebrating superstars, because superstars anyway have enough. It's
Yeah.
only when you celebrate small local heroes, so more people come into sport. That's the truth.
Speaking of local heroes and local superstars, what is your opinion on the other sports apart from cricket? And cricket is our unofficial national sport.
Yeah.
What
We have
about
a huge
football?
issue.
What about
We have a huge issue. Football still there is a certain amount of direction. They're trying to get more tournaments. They're trying to do an ISL, an I-League. Other sports, I'm telling you, because I just, we did a very, very successful first year of a volleyball league. And then our contract was cancelled because we refused to bribe somebody. And
what?
we took it to the courts. We refused to provide bribes. And we took it to the courts and we won a 4 crore thing against the Federation.
Yep.
The truth is, these are the kind of people who run Indian sport. And this is, if you look at it, Kabaddi is stopped right now for very different reasons. There's an issue between the broadcast and the team. Hockey is closed. There's no hockey league. Badminton has not happened. Okay? Volleyball, this is what happened. The handball was cancelled one day before. The truth of it is, Indian officialdom, the kind of officials they are, and people like, has been written enough about it. The kind of officials we have are just strangling Indian sport. Abhinav Bindra has, written in his autobiography.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Official.
Yep.
And that's the truth of it. Unless we find a way to break this system, these people are strangling Indian sport. We have to find a way.
You were the primary stakeholder in organizing the FIFA Under-17 World Cup here. So you must have faced this firsthand. Do you see stuff improving?
Look, I'll tell you, it's a very funny thing. When we did the Under-17 World Cup, when I dealt with officials around the country for many, many things, everywhere, see, 2 things. One is about organizing a tournament we are very good at, because India's interesting. We have a big event mentality. We have a shadi mentality. तो शादी के लिए या दुर्गा पूजा
Yes,
करने के लिए या
yes.
गणेश पूजा करने के लिए हम लोग कुछ भी
Yes,
कर
कब आ
लेंगे.
जाएगा? हाँ.
But
Absolutely,
that
bang
time
on.
we have to do it and finish it off.
Yeah.
Our problem is continuing to do stuff year after year.
Yeah.
So when the under 17 came, people who did nothing also sort of rallied up and did stuff for us and managed to do it. But to do a league year after year, to do stuff like that, we just need to break this system, because you see, you've got officials who are there for half the time, they have no idea what it is. B is that they were sometimes good enough to organize 2 local football tournaments in a budget of 1 lakh rupees. Now they're told there are 4 crores in the sport. This is the value of this sport. This part is 4 crores. He doesn't even begin to understand how to deal with sums of money like that, because he
Yep.
doesn't have that. If I tell you that if you catch a guy whose normal budget, advertising budget is 2,000 rupees, okay, and tell him ki now you're taking charge of 5 crore rupees, okay, this is how you have to spend your budget.
Yep.
Dude, he doesn't know where to
No.
start.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it is not.
So we are in a situation where there is a host of incompetent people who are really scared also. And there are some good people who are smart enough to understand that they don't know it and they need to bring professionals. There are others who are just thieves. There are others who are unscrupulous. And unfortunately, because of the way the system is, and if you check what the Indian Olympic organization has been doing over the past years from Kalmadi onwards, it's not a story which will make you very happy. That's the truth. Of it.
We are we're light years away from something like a Japan 100-year football World Cup plan. We are not even close to that. Light years away from that. Joyda, to sort of wind up, we have a small segment called slow takes. So it is the exact opposite of what a rapid fire would be. I don't want a quick response from you. I want to know your thoughtful opinion on something. You've seen cricket very closely for a very long time now. Which 1 or 2 players come to your mind when you think of unfulfilled potential? People who had the character, who had the talent, but due to some reason or the other did not end up having the careers they should have had. And I don't want to talk about people like Amol Mazumdar, who had circumstantial problems. If they would have been born in any other era, they would have played 50 to 60 test matches for India.
Sadanan Vishwanath, definitely. I've rarely seen a keeper as good as Sadanan Vishwanath is. And Sadanan Vishwanath was spoiled by a whole combination of family circumstances. And Sadanan Vishwanath, family circumstances, and basically after that he just went wayward and got into a situation where he thought he could play himself or drink himself out of trouble. It just didn't work for him. Sadanan Vishwanath as a keeper, you see that stumping of Javed Miaza in the 85 World Series of cricket is something to be seen. So Sada is, one of the players who definitely was one of the finest hands in India. And like Dhoni, he's an instinctive keeper. He's not a trained keeper. He was an instinctive keeper. He was a slasher. But you can be a slasher if you have the hands he has.
Yeah.
So Sada was one. Maninder Singh definitely again. Maninder Singh has not taken 100 Indian Test wickets. Is ridiculous. And I know Mani Bhai very well.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time with Mani Bhai. The crazy thing about Mani Bhai is he's one of the nicest men you'll ever come across. And Mani Bhai's problem was he listened to everybody. So somebody would come and say, "Tera action ये करने से ठीक हो जाएगा." या यहाँ जाकर मैंने ये मंदिर में जाकर 3 बार तू. He just listened to everyone, and in those days, remember, it's so difficult. 3 he got injuries, which definitely got injuries. And the third, I'll say, you may say that he's had a very successful career, but I said if injuries had not stopped him, Balaji's career would have been one of the greatest. He would have been one of the greatest Indian fast bowlers.
Agreed.
Balaji, say that he came back in 2008 and he played wonderfully for us in KKR in 2012. But do you know, when he had that injury post Pakistan tour and all that, literally they misdiagnosed him so badly, they said he wouldn't walk after that. They said you'll never walk properly. From them, for Balaji to play for CSK, very successful, KKR, and he even came back in the 2012 tour of Sri Lanka during the World Cup and
played. He was a part of the World Cup,
Yes.
He went to that, so he made it all the way back. But we lost. Balaji at 2004, 2005 was a very, very, very amazing bowler.
And he was a different sort of a bowler after the injury hampered.
Oh, yeah, exactly. After the injury, he became more of a limited overs bowler
Yeah.
and just using his mind and keeping the ball in the right place and doing stuff. But Balaji's natural action, he was a terrific bowler. Man, he was a terrific bowler.
Jyoda, it was absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking so much time out for us. And as I said in the mails, it has been an absolute fanboy moment for me, and it's been absolutely enthralling speaking to you and listening from you. Thank you so much for taking time out, and I hope you had a good time as well.
Thank you, sir.
I had a very good
Thank you,
time.
Shahzad.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Well done.